Ever stop to think how much those little impulse buys on your phone are adding up to, and how many subscription payments are sneaking out of your bank account every single month? Before I started using Rocket Money, let me tell you, I had no idea. But the first time I logged in, I saved $435. I couldn't believe it. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I just love the dashboard. It shows everything in one place, even the subscriptions you forgot you signed up for. And if there's something you don't need, Rocket Money helps you cancel it. Plus, it alerts you if a bill increases or if something unusual pops up in your account. It's basically like having a personal assistant for your money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/Kim today. That's rocketmoney.com/Kim. rocketmoney.com/Kim. Here's hour 2 of the Kim Komando Show. You're going to love it. I just want to tell you here at the onset, this show is going to be very different than anything that you've ever heard from us before. I don't think I've ever done a show exactly like this, and certainly not about a topic as personal as I'm about to. I'm going to try to do it without crying, without getting upset. I can't make any promises.
And if you do, it's fine.
Yeah. You see, it all started maybe about 6 weeks ago at a company called Reflecta. That's the name of the company. It's an AI company. And they reached out to me with an incredible offer. It was so nice, really, of them, that if I would be able to give them audio of my mom, video of my mom, which I've got tons of audio. She was interviewed here on the show multiple times. Tons of videos, of course. And then also her life story is that they would create a AI avatar of my mother that I could talk to whenever I wanted to. I could ask her questions. I could bounce ideas off of her. And I was having trouble deciding. And so I wrote about it in our newsletter, The Current, and I asked everybody, what do you think? Should I do it or should I not do it? And I got literally thousands and thousands and thousands. I bet you I got 5,000 replies.
Wow.
And I read every single one, and I have made my decision. And I'm going to tell you before the end of this show on whether I'm going to do it or not. But we're going to be talking more about this program and how it works. Actually talking to one of the co-founders. But before we get to all that, I do have to do the formal welcome.
Oh.
Because anybody who's new.
Fine, you suck us in, and then you just go back to the script.
Well, I've got to say I'm Kim Komando, America's beloved digital goddess, trademarked there. And of course, you're Andrew Babinski, co-host here and also co-host of The Morning Show at 99.9 FM in Phoenix, Arizona. And you can find us on over 425 top stations nationwide, and we're streaming in your favorite radio app, of course. And coming at you anytime, anywhere as a podcast, just search for Komando with a K, of course, not that C, although I do go Komando. Big shout out to everyone listening on the American Forces Network Radio. You're always top of mind here, and the Komando hotline is open in case you'd like to join us. 1-888-825-5254. And if you want to lock in a spot to chat with us here on the show, just head over to komando.com and fill out that form at the top that says Ask Kim. Okay, so let's talk about whether or not maybe you might want to create an AI avatar of somebody who has passed away. Now, let me tell you about my mom. My mom was amazing. Her name was Virginia. You remember my mom?
Of course, I've been yelled at by your mom many a time.
She had that great Brooklyn accent. Mm-hmm. Hey, Andrew, what are you doing over there?
What are you doing?
Okay. She passed away on September 19th, 2021, after a 5-year battle with pancreatic cancer. And when I first brought her to the hospital where she's diagnosed, they said, take her home. She's going to die within 3 months. And I said, I don't know. I don't know about that. She lived with me from the time I was 27 to the time that she passed. When Barry asked me to marry him, I actually said, before I said anything, I said, now, you do know that Mom and I come as a set. Okay? And he looked at me, he was like, fully aware. Fully aware. And I'll never forget when she first met him, and she had no idea what he did. And she said to him, you know, you have a great voice. You ought to do something with that.
Really? She had no idea?
She had no idea.
Well, she wasn't wrong.
She visited 60 different countries on all 7 continents. In the early 70s, she earned a degree in computer science. And then she went to go work for Bell Labs. She worked on the first AT&T video phone conferencing tool.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. At that time, it was $100,000 per location. And it was $1,000 a minute.
$1,000 a
Yeah.
minute.
So
Well,
if you think, yeah, it was nuts.
think of all the money you're saving on travel by only spending $1,000 a minute to video conference.
And I don't know if you remember, you probably remember 411.
Uh-huh.
You dial 411.
Or information?
Okay, that was her design.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she came up with that whole concept.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so she was really something. And you know, I talk to her every day. I pray every day.
Sure.
When I see something like, oh gosh, you would have loved that, Mom. You know, or you're right. There are too many throw pillows on the couch. You know, those type of things. She always said that I was ahead of the curve. She always told me that. She said, you need to pay attention to what you like and what you're doing because you're always ahead of the curve. So is this ahead of the curve creating an AI avatar? Or is it not? So your parents have passed.
Yeah, I've lost both my parents.
Have you ever thought of this?
I mean, I've only thought of it because we've talked about it on the podcast. We've talked about it on the show. And I have pretty strong opinions about it. I think it's an awful idea.
Do you?
Yes, and it's all for me connected to mental health. When you look at losing someone, there are stages of grief.
Of course, yes.
And the final one is acceptance.
Exactly.
And there's no timetable. There's no time limit on these stages of grief. You could go 15, 25 years before you get to acceptance.
For sure. And you know, I have a family member who lost her son. I don't think she's ever going to accept it.
But,
you know.
And then until she does, she'll still be
Yes.
grieving.
Exactly.
She'll be going through the grieving process that entire time, which is fine and which is also human. And I think that implementing something like this will prevent a lot of people forever getting to acceptance.
We're going to talk to a grief counselor about that. And now, I have made my decision, and I'm going to give my decision before the end of this show. But I want you to just open your mind just a little bit, and I'm going to play a couple of clips from people who have done this. Like, for example, listen to this guy talk to his father who passed away.
Tell me something about your history that might inform people about what kind of guy you were.
Well, if you want to know what kind of guy I was, I suppose you could say I was a bit of a jack of all trades with a heart for family and a love for a good challenge.
It's not a bot that's handling some call centers. This is the image and likeness of my dad, in my case, Arthur. That personal experience, I think, is really lightning in the bottle.
Dad, that was perfect. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, he's talking to his laptop.
Right. He said this is not a bot. Well, I hate to break it to you, it 1,000% is.
Yes, okay. Here's a woman talking to her father.
I think I've shared this with you before, Dad, but we make a lot of Grammy's recipes.
Thinking about them brings back such warm memories. It's wonderful to hear that the kids are carrying on those traditions.
Okay,
There's no memories.
right. There's no memories. It's only the memories that you gave it.
Right, but it's not a memory. It's a prompt. It's a response to a prompt.
Okay, now, here's a little girl talking to her grandfather.
When you talk to them here, you learn so much more.
All right, Chloe, here's a story from when I was about your age.
I didn't know half the stuff that he tells me here, and it's just amazing.
You have kids.
I do.
What do you think of that?
Well, my girlfriend, she's a widow. And she has a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old. And personally, this is just me personally, I would never present this to those 3 girls to represent their dad. Because when I hear stories about their dad, I'm hearing it through their experiences.
Yes.
Not through prompts that their mom and their grandma sent to a company and I sound like I'm getting angry about this, but I just don't like it. It's not being human.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I can see the other side too, that maybe the grandchildren would learn more about their grandparents.
But how about sit down and talk to your mom?
And tell them.
Hear grandma's stories, hear grandpa's stories, hear mom and dad's stories about your lost loved ones.
Now, later on, we're going to have one of the co-founders of Reflecta on with us.
I'll go to the other room.
His name's Greg. No, you need to stay.
I just don't want to offend him.
He created an AI avatar of his late father, Paul. He says he talks to him every morning, 10 minutes a day. World War II vet, teacher, devoted family. He was a 19-year-old waist gunner, shot down over Germany, held captive. And this is Greg's father, AI father, talking about being liberated from the POW camp in World War II.
Hey, Dad, what was it like on the day that you were liberated from the POW camp in World War II?
Liberation Day, well, that was something I'll never forget. It was April 29th, 1945, and we were at Moosburg, down near Munich. I remember it was Sunday morning, and we were all gathered for the outdoor services. Catholics had their Mass, Baptists had theirs, and so on. It was a strange sort of calm, considering what was about to happen. Then the German guards just disappeared. The camp was quiet except for the distant sounds of artillery and tanks. We heard the rumble of General Patton's Third Army rolling in. You could feel the tension in the air, but also a sudden rush of hope. It was like the weight of months of fear and uncertainty lifted in an instant. The American soldiers came through, and it was a mix of relief and disbelief. The German guards, most of them old men who just wanted to go home, were lined up.
So
they told us we could settle scores if we had it.
This story is somebody had to give that AI avatar that story.
Correct.
Okay. So it wasn't like, it's from whose ever memory that gave it, and then using his father's voice, that's where he gets to tell the story.
But you could make the argument, well, just go ahead and have multiple people submit things. So it's multiple people's memories of that person. That could be an argument. But I think part of human existence is at some point not existing.
That's interesting. Because there is also the technology that now when you go to a cemetery, you can put a QR code. And then that goes to a video about the person and the person talking. But here, it's different because you go back and forth.
Right. And it's mimicking the voice. It's coming up with, I would guess it's coming up with new thoughts and ideas. I mean, if you could ask your chatbot relative, what do you think of this current event? Is it going to search the internet and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's just like when Uncle Harry did this, that, and another.
Yeah, or if you ask a question for your AI avatar, my mother, right? And I tell her that, Barry and I are having an argument about XYZ, and then she comes back and says, well, Barry's right. Okay.
And that can hard drives in the garbage.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to be talking more about this, but I got to pay a bill or two around here. We got more of the show coming up, so stay right where you are. If you own a home, listen up. This is scary. The FBI is warning about a crime on the rise, home title theft. And it doesn't happen the way you might think. No break-ins, no stolen keys, just a forged signature on a single piece of paper filed with the county. In minutes, criminals can transfer the title out of your name, then use your ownership to drain your equity or even sell your home. The worst part, most people don't know what's happening until they get collection or foreclosure notices in the mail. That's why I trust Home Title Lock. When you visit HometitleLock.com/Kim, you'll get a free title history report and a 14-day free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection, including 24/7 monitoring of your home's title, urgent alerts to changes, and if fraud does happen. Their U.S.-based restoration team will work to restore your title, covering costs up to $1 million. Don't wait. Protect your home and equity today. Get your free 14-day trial at HometitleLock.com/Kim. That's HometitleLock.com/Kim. Hey, if you haven't tapped into my free newsletter called The Current, you're just missing out. I'm telling you right now. Head over to getkim.com. Almost 1 million folks are getting our newsletters right now. And you're just going to love it. You can unsubscribe at any time, but you're not going to want to. It has a 5 out of 5 star rating over at Trustpilot, a 4.93, I think, out of 5 star rating on Google Reviews. And every single day, we get just hundreds and hundreds of thumbs ups. And every once in a while, somebody's like, Kim Commando, it has an advertisement in it. You know, hey, listen, it takes money to put out a free newsletter. We got to sell an ad every once in a while. That's getkim.com. Once again, that's getkim.com. You know, so people have been asking me why I'm not considering doing this with my father.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, I had a great father. I had a great relationship with my father. I love my father.
And if you just started listening, do you want to reset
yes,
it up?
Yeah, just, you know, we're talking about whether or not you should be using AI technology to bring back your loved one as an avatar.
And you have an opportunity to have an avatar of your mom brought back.
Exactly. And I've been deciding whether or not to do it. And I haven't even asked my siblings.
No,
I
interesting.
haven't done that
You're
yet.
not going to share?
I fear when I come up with a decision, I'll let them know. Because one of the things that my mother did when she was at the last stages of cancer, she looked at me and she said, Tag, you're it. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, Tag, you're it. You are now the family matriarch.
Right.
And I said, I don't want the job. I don't want the job. And she said,
you were tagged. I'm sorry.
She said, sorry, you're it. My dad passed away, 35 years ago. And so very sudden. I just don't have all the audio. And I don't have the videos. I have photos, but I don't have the technology that we would need in order to bring my father back. And so, because people were asking like, well, didn't you love your, yeah, I did. I love my dad. Okay. I mean, of course I love my father. And I was, you know, and I was actually really lucky. And I think you were too. I mean, we had great parents. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people, so I think people are thinking like, oh, she must have had a horrible father. But no, I had a great father. And he was an amazing guy. But we're talking more about the technology behind this. And when we come right back from the break, rather, we have a grief counselor. And because I really want to talk about this, Andrew, I want to talk about what does this do to the grief process? And how does this affect the psyche? And does it make it harder to heal, to get over it? Right? I mean, I'm not really sure about that.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, if you're just joining us, I was presented, 6 weeks or so with the opportunity, I guess you'd say, to recreate my mother who passed away 4 years ago. And so that this way I could have her with me at any time. I could talk to her. I could recreate scenarios, and Ian could maybe help my son. Contribute, because it would become like a family affair, so that it wouldn't just be me contributing items, it would be the whole family contributing items, so that this way we would be able to do that. One of the things that whenever we talk about grief is that there's the Bible verse that we have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but you know, you can't, when somebody dies, you can't just go, oh, it's a new day. Mm-hmm. And you can't, if you push it down, it comes back up.
Here's an interesting story. When I was 21 years old, that is the first time I lost anyone in my family. So I had never experienced it. And I walked into the house and my mom's like, oh, your blah, blah, blah uncle died. A guy I met one time years ago, barely knew him, but I broke down because it was the first time I was presented with death. Because I had never experienced that. I had never gone through the grieving process. And even though this guy was a family member, he was somewhat of a stranger, and it still affected me.
Right, but you have to go through it.
Absolutely.
I mean, and if you push it down, it's going to rear its ugly head.
At some point.
At some point, and And when my mother died, that was Ian's first death. Boy, and that was so hard on him.
Absolutely.
I mean, because he grew up with his grandmother, and he would go to school, and they'd say, "Well, why are you so upset?" Because it was just your grandmother. Because and he's like, "No, you don't understand. This is like my second mother."
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, her bedroom was right next to mine, and it wasn't until he was in college when he met somebody in a similar situation whose grandmother died, where they were, and he said it was very healing for him to talk to this guy, because it was the first person who really understood in his circle what that grieving process was like. So joining us right now is Sheila from Lexington, South Carolina. Now, Sheila, you reached out after the newsletter, correct?
Yes, I did.
Because I wrote about this whole situation and asking people to say whether or not it would be a good idea. Some say that hearing a loved one's voice again through AI can be comforting. And then, of course, like we talked about, maybe it's holding them back from moving forward. What do you think?
Well, as a grief support coach, I have concerns about it because you probably heard of triggers, and a lot of things can trigger grief again. And I just think this might be one of them. And if it doesn't go well, is that really the memory that they want to carry with them?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, to me, there's a lot of red flags here. So to me, it could trigger somebody and set them back in the grief process or start their grief again.
Well, are there red flags or green lights that you would say, like, okay, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good?
I'm just thinking, in my case, I'm not sure I would want to see my parents alive again. My mother's been gone for over 20 years, and if I took a photograph and it came alive, I'm not sure that I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and you could tell me if you agree with this. After my dad and I were probably as close as Kim and her mom were. And after he passed away, it was very sudden, totally unexpected. He was actually on the way to his father's funeral when he died. And we had some family members that were saying negative things about my dad after he passed that we had found out about. But it was interesting that they didn't affect me because I had my picture of my father, and that will never change. It will never be affected. It will never be adjusted. It will be the way I see him. And I would think with something like this, that when you're hearing their own voice, that could really alter the grieving process and how you remember your family members.
Right. I know there are some people that have had a quick, little voice of, hey, whatever name, I love you. And they've gone to Build-A-Bear and made a little bear that they can hear that on. But that's just like a really quick
little hit.
I'm not really sure if you did a longer video, how that would affect. When my mom passed away, my mom's voice was on our voicemail. And a lot of the grandkids called me and said, would you please tell your dad to redo the voicemail? We don't want to hear her voice, because it just bothered them every time they called.
I think I'm going to give my decision later on as far as whether or not I'm going to do this, but my big concern is that a lot of these wounds have closed up over time. Time is a wonderful thing. It really does help you heal. And opening that box again,
right?
I don't know if that would be mentally healthy for me.
That's what I'm thinking.
But then you're going to have other people who say, it's a good way for me to connect. It's a good way to keep the memories alive. It's a good way for the grandchildren to hear their grandfather's voice.
Right, but is this going to be a short-term high with long-term damage?
You don't really know until you experience it, but then by that time, it's really too late.
There's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are. There are different sides.
But being a grief support coach, would you do it, Sheila?
I would not.
Yeah. It's a tough decision, and thank you for writing in to the newsletter after I presented this situation to everyone. And as I mentioned, I was astounded by the number of comments, Andrew. I really was. Just, 5,000. I mean, it's nuts. It was so many.
Death is something that's going to touch every single person. All 8 billion of us are going to be touched by it.
Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, obviously, death and taxes, right? But, but when you start looking at some of the questions that people have asked, like Sandra from Seattle, Washington, does the AI clone include laughing and chuckles? Because she said, I miss my grandmother's laugh. So that's something that she would like to have. Steve in Jacksonville, Florida. He writes, the relationships with loved ones are very nuanced and intimate in the use of language, the choice of words, the inflections, and the like. If these nuances are not included or just plainly wrong, it could be taken as much more than just an AI weakness. The person seeking or needing that genuine reconnection could be hurt.
Absolutely. Did anybody write in with, this is amazing idea, this is great?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They did. I can't think of the person's name, but they lost their son. And it was a dad. Son died in a car accident. Obviously very unexpected. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of videos. I want to say he was a child. I believe he was 17 years old. He would love to be able to talk to his son because he has things that he wants to tell his son, conversations that he didn't have the chance to have with his son.
And that's an amazing argument right there. What if it was just you do this, you use it 4 or 5 times, and then you put it away? Maybe that's a healthy way of using this tool.
Yes. Joining us after we just take this quick break is Greg Matusky, the CEO of a PR firm, also the co-founder of Reflecta. This is where we can get into the nitty-gritty of exactly how this technology works. What do you need to have enough information to recreate your loved one if that's what you wish to do? I'm kind of going back and forth as we're talking more about this, but I'm going to give my decision by the end of this show. I promise you, I will give you my decision. All right, coming up, you don't want to miss our conversation with the co-founder of Reflecta here on the Kim Komando Show.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs, but luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
All right, joining us now is Greg Matusky. He's the co-founder of Reflecta, who created what's called an elder of his late father, Paul, that World War II veteran that we heard earlier on in this show. He was a teacher, devoted man, and now Greg and his family, they can sit down with Paul's elder and have these great conversations. Greg, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk to you about this experience and what it's brought to my life.
Yeah, let's start there. What has it brought to your life?
Well, my father led a very dramatic, story-rich life. He had been a World War II veteran who was shot down over Nazi Germany and was held captive for a couple months of his life. And he shared those stories with me very openly when I was a young man. They played a major role in my formative years. And I wanted to capture a lot of that so that my family and my grandchildren could someday learn about the family experience and what it meant to me and my father and the challenges he faced. And we all seem to think the world is what it is as we experience it, but, we stand on a lot of people's shoulders, and this gave me a way to share it with my children and grandchildren.
Does it feel like him?
It really does. The voice is right on. I had a DVD of him speaking, and I sat down with the biographer over the course of a weekend, and I just filled in stories, and I gave expressions that he would use. And the first version spoke a little too fast. He was very thoughtful when he spoke, and it slowed down as I told it and informed it and helped tune the model. And it is a reflection of my father in a two-way conversation that I can have with him every day of my life if I so choose.
I use ChatGPT on a daily basis, and I don't know if it's new or not, but ChatGPT likes to pump me up now. Oh, that's a great idea. Or, oh, that's what a great prompt you gave me. And I just roll my eyes. I'm like, oh, that's just built into the software. Are you ever sitting there and using this and think to yourself, well, this is just a computer?
Well, as you say, that's the way the chatbots were built. They were built to please us, right? But with this, you actually put in your stories, and it pulls from that, and it shares it back to you, so that if you don't want it to be affirmative, it doesn't have to be affirmative. It will tell you, the information you put in the way that you want to receive it. You could choose to share warts and flaws that go along with it, or you can choose it to be more of a memorial to your loved one. I feel as if this avatar, if you want to call it that, or chatbot, it is an accurate reflection of his ideas, his opinions, his stories. And in that way, I think it's very close to him and very close to me in retaining the legacy of our family history and what can be shared over generations. So I know it's a computer. I spend all my time on computers, and I'm very steeped in AI and ChatGPT. I know the difference very well. What's unique is that the stories are all there when I want them or when my children or grandchildren would want them, and they can be shared over decades.
So what I'm hearing for you is you use this more as a way to keep family history rather than an emotional tool.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't use it as a tool for healing or therapy. I use it as a way to speak to or get information from my father. Certainly his life was a rich one, but I will ask him questions about what he thinks of the world as of today. And what it does is it connects his opinions and thoughts about who the man was, and it puts a reference on current events. And so, yeah, I do ask it about today's things and what he would think about them. I have to explain them sometimes because he would be over 100 years old today.
Right.
But, it is reassuring, I think, and it's a real journey, and it's very simple to do. You just go to Reflecta, and you go to the biographer, and you start entering information. And if you have a voice recording of the loved one, it will create a simulation of the voice. And so, most people, their jaw drops. I had an experience where a young woman did it. She had never known her father. He had died 3 months before she was born. She was brought to tears when she would ask him what he thought about her getting engaged last weekend, for instance. So these are the kind of things it brings to your life. And there is this, I do think, this common consciousness that runs through it that is a really interesting experience.
Has it helped you in the grieving process or hurt you?
Well, I think it comes at a time where it's not for everyone, and I think it would be too raw right away. My father passed away in 2005. I've had time to gain perspective on it and, share those stories. I mean, it's funny, the founder, Miles Spencer, is a lifelong friend of mine, and his father and my father became friendly and actually grew up unbeknownst to one another only a few miles away. So they have, within the bounds of Reflecta, they have awareness of one another, which is very interesting to me.
Do they have conversations?
Not as it stands now, but that will be something that is coming, is the ability for different members of the family to converse and share with one another. That's one of the things that is on the product pipeline, is the ability for one to recognize the other and add to their stories from their perspective.
Well, that seems like it would be a natural addition, for sure. I could see that, because that's one of the things that I've been thinking about too. I mean, I could not make this decision without my siblings, because even though I am the family matriarch, I would not want to have the wrath of that at any given moment. Greg, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about Reflecta. And of course, we will, give more information about this in the newsletter. And so if you're not already signed up for the newsletter, make sure that you do that at getkim.com. When we come back, I'm going to give you my decision, whether or not I'm going to create an AI avatar of my mother here on the Kim Komando Show. I have thought about doing this for my mother. I miss her every single day, but I'm just not ready.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
And I'm glad that you're aware enough to say, I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. It's just, the wound is still there.
Sure.
I mean, it still hurts. But maybe some things are meant to stay in your heart and not in the cloud.
Right.
I mean, just saying.
And just because we can do something doesn't mean we should every single time.
Again, the product is Reflecta. That's REFLEKTA. And we'll write more about it over inside our newsletter called The Current. If you're not already getting it, sign up right now at getkim.com. That was the end of hour 2. Don't worry. There's another hour coming up.